Look down. Right now. The floor under you feels solid, permanent. The one surface in your entire life that never moves, never shifts, never asks anything of you. You trust it completely. You have to. Everything you've ever built, every step you've ever taken, every person you've ever loved has stood on top of it without a second thought. But 2,900 kilometers beneath your feet, roughly the straight line distance from New York to Denver, except pointing straight down, that floor stops being rock at all. And long before you reach that point, the world underneath you stops making any kind of sense. There are oceans down there with no surface. There are continents that were never on any map and never will be. There are two structures the size of nothing else on the planet, and the smartest people alive cannot agree on what they are or where they came from. Something at the very center is spinning the wrong way, and we only noticed in the last few decades. Here's my bet. By the end of these 18 minutes, you will never stand on the ground the same way again. We are going down in layers. 6 strange worlds, each one stranger than the one above it, until we reach the heart of the planet itself. And the deepest world we find might not even be from this planet at all. So how far down does strange actually go? Let's find out. We start just below your shoes. The first strange world is not made of rock or fire. It's alive. Go down through the soil, past the tree roots, past the groundwater, deeper than any well, to a depth of about 3 kilometers. Deeper than the tallest building on Earth is tall, stacked nose to tail, 10 times over. There is no light here. There has never been light here, not once in the entire history of the planet. The temperature climbs with every meter, the pressure builds, and there is no oxygen, no plants, no sun, no seasons. By every rule you were ever taught about what life needs, nothing should survive in a place like this. And yet it does. Trillions upon trillions of microbes live inside the solid stone, packed into cracks thinner than a human hair, surviving in conditions that would seem impossible anywhere else. Scientists call them the deep biosphere. And the strangest thing about them is what they eat. They don't eat food the way you do. Some of them breathe rock. They pull energy straight out of the iron and sulfur in the stone around them, drinking electricity from minerals, living so slowly that a single one of these organisms can take 1,000 years to divide just once. Think about what that actually means. For one of these creatures, the rise and fall of the Roman Empire and this very morning are almost the same instant. They were here, breathing stone, while dinosaurs walked overhead. They were here while the first humans learned to make fire. They have outlasted every empire, every war, every story you've ever heard. And they did it without ever once seeing the surface, without ever knowing the surface exists. And consider how alien their existence really is. They live without sunlight, which means they live completely outside the great chain that powers almost everything on the surface. The chain that starts with a plant catching light and ends with the food on your plate. These organisms broke free of the sun entirely. They run on the raw chemistry of the planet itself. If life can do that here, in total darkness, eating stone, then the same trick might work on worlds with no sun at all. Frozen moons, far from any star, with oceans buried under ice. The search for life beyond Earth may have quietly begun 3 kilometers beneath our own. There may be more living matter hidden inside the Earth's crust than in every ocean, every forest, and every field on the surface combined. An entire shadow kingdom of life, possibly larger than the whole visible world, locked silently in the dark beneath every step you have ever taken. We share this planet with it. We just never look down. And researchers have found these microbes wherever they've dug deep enough to check. Gold mines, ocean drill cores, boreholes on 3 continents. Not as a rare accident, as a rule. And that's only the doorway, because if you keep going, the rock itself starts producing treasure. The second strange world is a factory, and what it makes is diamonds. Drop to about 150 kilometers down and the conditions become extraordinary. temperatures hotter than molten lava, pressure so immense that ordinary carbon has nowhere left to hide. Squeezed from every direction at once, with nowhere to expand and no way to escape, the carbon atoms surrender and lock into the hardest natural pattern that exists in nature. A diamond is born. Not one. Untold numbers of them, forming slowly across millions of years in a layer of the planet you will never visit and no drill will ever reach. Every diamond you have ever seen, in a ring, in a museum, in a photograph, was made down here, in conditions no human could survive for a fraction of a second, and then carried upward by violent columns of rising rock that punched toward the surface long before any person was alive to witness it. The stone on someone's finger is older than the dinosaurs, forged in a world we can only study from a distance. But here is where it turns genuinely strange. A few rare diamonds don't form at 150 kilometers. They form far, far deeper. Some from below 660 kilometers, in a region we used to think was completely impossible for them to survive. We call them super deep diamonds, and they are the only solid messengers we have ever received from that depth. They are the deepest physical objects ever to reach human hands. When one of them finally rides a column of rising rock all the way to the surface and is cut open in a laboratory, scientists find something trapped inside it. Water. Tiny pockets of a water-rich mineral, sealed inside the stone for hundreds of millions of years, carried up from a layer most people never knew existed. The same hidden reservoir we explored in the last episode. A single flawed diamond, the kind a jeweler would normally throw away for being imperfect, turned out to be the proof that there is an ocean's worth of water locked inside the rock beneath us. The flaw was the discovery. The imperfection was the whole point. So pause for a second on that. We've already passed a living world and a world that builds diamonds and hides oceans inside them. And we are barely getting started. We haven't even reached the halfway point of the planet. Quick favor before we go deeper. Tell me in the comments which country you're listening from right now. I genuinely want to see how far down this signal travels across the world. Then keep going with me, because the next world is the one that broke the map. The third strange world should not exist. There are two of them. Sink all the way down to 2,900 kilometers, the boundary where the rocky mantle finally ends and the molten core begins. This is the deepest solid place on Earth. The floor at the bottom of the floor, the last surface before everything turns to liquid metal. And resting on that floor are two enormous structures, each one roughly the size of a continent, each one rising up to 100 times taller than Mount Everest. If you could stand at their base and look up, the top would vanish far beyond anything your eyes could follow. We can't see them. We can't drill to them. No camera will ever photograph them. We found them the only way anyone ever could, by listening. When a large quake shakes the planet, the waves travel all the way through the interior and come out the other side, and scientists around the world time exactly when those waves arrive. The waves slow down whenever they pass through these two regions, as if they're moving through something heavier and fundamentally different from everything around it. Map every slowdown across decades of measurements, layer them together, and the shape slowly appears out of the data. One giant mass sitting beneath Africa, one beneath the Pacific. Scientists named them, simply, the blobs, and no one knows for certain what they are. But the leading idea is one of the most extraordinary in all of science. Around 4.5 billion years ago, a young planet about the size of Mars is thought to have struck the early Earth, the very same impact that splashed out the debris which gathered together and became our moon. For a long time, we assumed that other planet was gone, vaporized, erased, scattered into space and memory. What if it isn't gone? What if the two blobs are the buried remains of that lost world? Pieces of an entire planet, sunk to the bottom of ours, still sitting there in the dark after billions of years. Not destroyed, just hidden. The heaviest fragments of a world that died to give us our moon, settled at the bottom of the mantle, and waiting, undisturbed. The whole time, life was rising and falling on the surface above. Every single time you look up at the moon, you may be looking at the twin of something buried 2,900 kilometers beneath your feet. If that idea just rearranged something in your head the way it did in mine, that's the moment to tap the like button. It genuinely helps strange ideas like this one reach people who'd never hear them otherwise. Because the next world is even harder to believe, and it's made of pure motion. The fourth strange world is a landscape no human eye will ever see, and it has mountains. Stay at the bottom of the mantle, right at that boundary with the core, and run your attention slowly across it. For a long time, we pictured this as a smooth, simple surface, the neat, clean line drawn in every textbook diagram. It is nothing of the kind. It is a hidden terrain of staggering scale and variety. There are ranges down there taller than anything that exists on the surface of the planet. There are deep valleys and vast plains, and scattered across it are pockets of rock so strange that seismic waves passing through them nearly grind to a halt. Patches where the solid mantle may be partly melting against the ferocious heat of the core, forming pools of half-liquid stone that exist nowhere else in the entire world. This is the engine room of the planet. The core just below is extraordinarily hot, its outer surface roughly as hot as the surface of the sun itself, a wall of heat pressed against the base of the rock, and that heat does not stay put. It rises, slowly, patiently, in vast columns of warmer rock that climb upward through the entire thickness of the mantle over millions of years, like the world's slowest and largest lava lamp. Each column is hundreds of kilometers across and moves at the speed your fingernails grow. When one of these rising columns finally reaches the surface after its million-year journey, it can build entire island chains, tear continents apart down the middle, and redraw the map of the world. There are places on Earth, quiet tropical islands famous for their beaches, that sit directly on top of one of these columns right now, slowly being built by a fountain of rock that started its climb before the first humans existed. The island is just the tip. The real structure runs almost 3,000 kilometers straight down, all the way to the bottom of the rock. The volcanoes you've seen in photographs, the tropical islands people fly across the planet to visit, the slow and silent drift of the continents themselves over geological time. All of it is steered from this invisible mountain country at the very bottom of the rock, a place we have never touched and never will. So the ground isn't just sitting there. It's being driven from below by a world you'll never see. The surface of the Earth. Every city, every mountain range, every coastline you could name is simply the ceiling of this hidden room. And you live on the other side of it, looking the wrong way, staring up at the stars while the strangest engine in the solar system turns slowly beneath your chair. Keep that scale in your mind, because we're about to cross the final boundary now, out of rock entirely, into the core, and the core is doing something that took scientists completely by surprise. The fifth strange world is a heart that beats to its own clock. Cross from the mantle into the outer core, and the planet changes its very state of matter. For about 2,200 kilometers, the Earth becomes a churning ocean of liquid metal, iron and nickel, hotter than you can comfortably picture, swirling endlessly in slow, enormous currents. And that swirling is not pointless. It is, in fact, the reason you are alive to hear this. The motion of all that liquid metal generates the magnetic field, the invisible shield that wraps around the entire planet and turns away the constant stream of charged particles flowing out from the sun. Without this churning metal ocean, that stream would strip the air from the sky over millions of years and leave the surface exposed and bare. The compass that has guided every ship and every explorer in history was never really pointing at the North Pole. It was answering to this ocean of moving metal, thousands of kilometers below, that you never feel and never see. Your protection from space is generated by a sea you'll never sail, but fall through that liquid ocean, all the way down to the very center, and you reach the strangest object of all. At the exact heart of the Earth sits a solid ball of iron about the size of the moon, pressed into a single crystal-like mass by the unimaginable weight of the entire planet pressing inward from every direction at once. It is hotter than the surface of the sun. By every instinct you have, that much heat should melt it instantly into liquid. And yet, because the crushing pressure is so far beyond anything in your experience, it stays solid. Heat that intense, held still by force alone, and it is slowly growing. Bit by bit, across the ages, liquid metal from the ocean around it freezes onto its surface, and the solid heart of the Earth gets a little larger every million years. The very act of that freezing helps stir the liquid ocean above it, which means the solid core, simply by growing, helps power the magnetic shield that keeps the sky in place. The center of the Earth is quietly protecting the surface, and it has no idea you exist, and it spins on its own. For years, careful measurements suggested the inner core was rotating at a slightly different speed than the rest of the planet, sometimes a little faster, quietly drifting ahead of the world above it, turning like a wheel inside a wheel. Then, more recently, the evidence shifted again, hinting that its motion had slowed and may even have reversed relative to the surface, as if the heart of the Earth were rocking gently back and forth on a vast cycle that takes decades to complete. We are still arguing about exactly what it's doing down there, reading its movement only through the faint echoes of quakes that pass through it. But sit with what that means. There is a moon-sized ball of solid metal at the center of your planet, hotter than the surface of the sun, and it does not turn in step with the ground you are standing on. It keeps its own time. It always has, for billions of years. And we, the species that mapped the far side of the moon and landed machines on other planets, only noticed the heart of our own world was keeping a separate clock within the last few decades. We've reached the center now. You'd think there is nowhere left to go. There is one world left, and it's the oldest thing you will ever hear about. The sixth strange world is a breath the Earth has been holding for 4.5 billion years. Come back up from the core, into the deepest part of the mantle, and search for something almost impossible to detect. A faint trace of gas, leaking very slowly toward the surface in just a few rare places scattered across the planet. The gas is a special, lighter kind of helium, and its mere presence is a riddle that took scientists years to even believe. This particular helium is primordial. It was not made by the Earth. It was made before the Earth, out in the giant cloud of dust and gas that collapsed to form the entire solar system, the sun, and every planet around it. By all rights, it should have escaped into space billions of years ago, drifting away along with the rest of the original atmosphere of the young planet. Almost all of it did exactly that. The Earth lost its first breath to the void long before anything was alive to miss it. But a small amount got trapped, deep inside the planet, sealed in as the Earth gathered itself together around it. And it has stayed there ever since. A tiny pocket of the original solar system, locked motionless in the rock, slowly seeping out today through certain volcanic islands where the deep mantle reaches toward the surface. When scientists capture it, bubbling up, and measure it, they are sampling the actual breath of a 4.5 billion-year-old world. They are holding a piece of the cloud that existed before the sun had fully switched on, untouched, unchanged, preserved by nothing more than depth and time, and an astonishing run of luck. So this is what is actually beneath you. Not one world, but 6, stacked one inside the next, like rooms in a house no one has ever fully entered. A living kingdom hidden in the rock. A factory that turns carbon to diamond and hides oceans inside the flaws. The buried remains of a lost planet. An invisible mountain country at the bottom of the stone. A metal heart that keeps its own separate time, and the trapped first breath of the early solar system, still quietly escaping, all this time later. Now stand back up. Feel the floor again. It still feels solid. It still feels permanent. It still feels like the one thing in your whole life that never moves. But you know better now. Under your shoes is more living matter than fills all the oceans. Under that a layer that turns plain carbon into stones you can hold to the light. Under that, the ghost of another planet, sunk and silent. Under that, mountains no one will ever climb, a heart that spins to its own clock, and the oldest breath in the world still leaking gently into the air you're breathing right now. We aim telescopes at the edge of the universe and send machines to map distant planets, and the strangest world we have ever found is the one we have been standing on the entire time. And we have barely scratched the first few kilometers of it. We have reached further out into space than we have ever reached down into the ground beneath our own feet. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If all of this has been here the whole time, hidden just a few kilometers down, waiting billions of years for us to even notice it was there, what else is the Earth still keeping from us, right now, just out of reach? The ground was never solid. It was only quiet.